Hello and welcome back to the Airshow Lounge podcast. In today's episode, we're just going to be covering, again, loads and loads of updates that have happened in the last 3 weeks since the previous episode. Going over the Spanish display team's change of aircraft that's been announced recently, and some of the stone walls of airshows across the UK. My name is Dan, and joining me today is...
Hey, it's Jack.
And Matt.
Well, it has been 3 weeks since the last one, and we've had lots and lots of airshow updates since then, obviously, because the airshow scene is now in full swing of updates, whether or not it's Cosford, whether or not it's RIAT, or any of your other smaller shows. I think we'll get straight into it and do RIAT, because there have been some, quite frankly, what you'd call star item pulls, and we are on update number 3 now. Let's get into it. The Portuguese. Hello, Portugal.
I think this is a really nice update with the Portuguese. Obviously, it's for those that maybe aren't necessarily aware. Portuguese Merlin. This is one that's doing the search and rescue demo, isn't it?
Yes.
And also a Portuguese P3, which I think is a fairly quite rare aircraft to be attending an airshow nowadays, especially with its sort of slow decline out of service around various air arms.
To be fair, I didn't even realise that the Portuguese had P3s. And again, I didn't even realise they had the Merlins. I know they have the Lynx, because of my roots being down from the southwest. You used to see the Portuguese Lynx fly around quite a lot. But, I think these are two really, really good early catches for RIAT.
Yeah, when I saw the Merlin, it's just nice to have a Merlin back in the flying display. If I remember a number that someone posted online, I think it was something like 2014 since we had a Merlin at the flying display at RIAT. And it's in a stunning camo. It's a search and rescue demo. There's not anything, I don't know if any of you have had a look online, if there's anything to do with it. There's not a lot out there in terms of the demo. I saw a display back in 2018 from the Merlin, but it wasn't a search and rescue. It was a 5-minute chuck the helicopter about kind of thing. So, yeah, it's good, but go on, Jack.
I think almost it's almost nice not to know what the display is going to consist of. If I'm just going to take, say, the RAF and the Americans, you can it's quite readily available to go online and see what they did over a weekend. Whereas the Portuguese, like you say, haven't really shown it off. There's no real structure in quotation. So I think it would be really nice almost to have something that even everybody's going to go, I wonder what this is going to be about.
I was thinking, I wonder if it'd be something along the sort of lines of, was it the Czechs did a demo at RIAT a few years back?
We've had a couple, haven't we? Because we had the Italians in their centenary year, which was 23.
Yeah.
And then we've had that Czech one where they started swinging the guy about underneath.
Yeah, that's what I remember. I think I'm mixing both of them up together in my head. I'm definitely remembering somebody being swung around with a massive flag beneath a helicopter. So
yeah, that was the Italians. And then the Czechs, they extended the line out and they just started flying him about the airfield like at full pelt. So, I
think another one that you had was obviously like the Hip and Hind, where I think they kind of did a similar sort of thing. But I hope you don't mind me just moving it on slightly. It's really nice to have a Merlin fly in, because as another announcement was, we've got NH90s coming back.
Yeah, which, well, going back 5 or 10 years would be a rarity, and now the German NH90 is very much a regular, I guess, a regular in terms of it's been, can't think off the top of my head how many years in a row, but definitely since COVID now, it's been every year. And it's a good demo. It's a rare demo. We don't see them. And it's nice to have helicopter demos back in the display, because we have lacked them slightly. I think last year we did as well. I think we only had it was the Black Cats and the NH90 as well. And the NH90 went tech. Obviously the Chinook as well. And the NH90 went tech, because they've said on their Instagram that they hope to bring a spare over this year. So we might even have 3 turn up.
Yes, because they're doing one for the flying demo and then one for static, aren't they, as
Yeah.
well? So, and then this one they've teased for the spare for the flying. I think it's probably one of my favourite sort of European helicopter demos. It always seems really engaging, really nice, and fairly fast paced and flowing as well for a helicopter demo as well. And it's always in a nice, attractive scheme as well.
I think you look at helicopter demos. You look at the Chinook that used to obviously do its own demo, and it's really nice to see them trying to get away from a demo as such and show you what they do in day-to-day life. With the Chinook doing underslung, you've got NH90s, you've got Merlins that obviously do search and rescue. So it's nice to actually see at an air show a helicopter do what its day-to-day job could be.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of sort of search and rescue. I think that's going to be quite a heavy part of this Eyes in the Skies theme this year. I think we've got probably Coast Guard to come, hopefully, bringing some of their aircraft. You're going to have other nations that are going to bring it. Maybe they are talking to like the Italians, the Czechs from previous years. Can you bring your demos back? And I think it's nice to have a bit of a change. It's nice to have we've probably missed search and rescue demos. I remember when there was a Sea King one quite regularly at seaside air shows, and that's now gone ever since the Sea King went. And so I think we are slightly missing them in terms of they're not as regular.
I mean, just two little things about it. I suppose when you look at certain, like you say, seaside air shows, if you look down in the southwest where you've got RNAS Yeovilton, any air show that's around there, they'll try and get the Black Cats to, because it's not too long a transition flight for them. They can stay quite local. Whereas if you had like say the Edinburgh Tattoo, where they get stuff like that, it's almost too long a flight for it to be worthwhile for them. So I do feel with helicopter displays, sometimes it is a case of how lucky you are to live in an area.
Yeah, I think so. And obviously on the idea of RIAT regulars with the NH90, the probably RIAT regular of RIAT regulars, the Jordanian Falcons, they are back. It would not be a RIAT without them, would it be? Like, realistically, as much as people say it's a toilet break, it's this, it would not be a RIAT if they didn't turn up. I
think it goes to show just the absolute sort of backing and sort of the support that the Jordanians give to RIAT as well. They're a fairly they're a fairly small nation that's not exactly close to the UK either, and pretty much without fail every year they'll send their display team and at least one of their normally very lovely C-130s. Last year we had it in its sort of standard grey scheme. I think they've said this year they're hoping to send is it the special scheme or the colourful one? Yeah, the camo. Scheme. So that's quite a significant sort of commitment to make, especially this early on for RIAT as well from them. So I think that's really, really good to see, and it shows the support from them to help put on the show.
Last year, I thought their display was actually quite good. I think they changed it up a bit, and it was again, I like fast and loud, but it is nice sometimes to have that little break in display of something a little bit slower, something where you can actually, if you're not going to take photos of it, you can actually sit back and enjoy watching it.
It's definitely a very nice display to look at and watch. They do. I think the very premise of the aircraft they use, it requires it to be flowing and things linking into one another, and it makes it almost quite, really quite nice to watch for the display.
I think for the number catchers out there as well, this year could be a chance to finally catch the elusive Jordanian Falcon number 5, which exists but we've never ever seen before. And last year there was a mishap with one of the Falcons. I can't remember exactly what airshow it was at. So there is a rumour that potentially they're going to use that number 5. So for you number tickers, you registration counters, that might be one for you guys to look out for when they come over this year. Maybe we get a different registration finally for number 5. which is obviously just little niche things there that the general public won't know, but for us aviation enthusiasts, that's just a nice little addition, a little bonus.
I think one of the nice things that RIAT have sort of done this year as well is they've got their eyes in the skies theme, and they're really sort of pushing quite a few sort of fairly standout attendees that sort of fit that theme quite early on in the sort of, what do they call it now? The takeoff Thursday? Yeah, takeoff Thursday.
Yes.
So, you got things in there such as the historic helicopters, but they're hoping to bring two of their aircraft this year to RIAT, the Whirlwind and Wessex. They're two, search and rescue aircraft that are steeped in history. That would be nice to see. And as well, I think they're also looking to bring from, where are we looking now? So from Italy, a civilian operated Piaggio P166 and also the Catalina, which I think interestingly they say on their website. It says our aspiration is to park the Catalina on static display alongside examples of modern-day maritime patrol aircraft to offer an interesting historical/contemporary comparison. So that's quite interesting, and maybe sort of look ahead and sort of teaser of the central this static displays section maybe.
Yeah, it's really good that they've gone very, so far, civilian heavy in terms of, but there are those civilian gems, aren't there? We talked about the Electra last week. These aircraft that realistically on their own are a brilliant rare item, but fit that theme so well. I think that's what making this broad theme this year has allowed them to do. And imagine a Catalina sat alongside a P3. Someone tell me when was the time that has ever happened before? Never mind the last time. If that's to what they're going to do, and that's the sort of gist you're going to get from this, and that's what makes RIAT. It's these things, because you'd maybe get the historic helicopters, Wessex or Whirlwind at another air show, and then you may get the Electra at another air show, and it's all these different air shows, sort of the way you'd see them, but they're bringing them all to one. There's the Indian Spitfire we talked about, the Electra, the Catalina, the Wessex, the Whirlwind. Just those alone being together on a static display at one air show, it excites me for what other civilian items are out there as well, because there are ones out there that, again, would be standout items.
I think I'm going to just take the Viper line that they did last year at RIAT. I think they've set a benchmark of what is achievable as well on the static line, where you could quite easily do through the 50s or through the 60s or through, do you know what I mean, up to current time of this is what these aircraft were designed to do and how they've evolved into what their predecessor turns into.
I'll tell you what, that would be really cool for helicopters. If you go from Wessex Whirlwind, and then you make your way up slowly through, you maybe get a Sea King from somewhere or something like that, and so you work your way up to all the modern day counterparts. That'd be really cool. I didn't even think about that, something they could do, but having almost a history line or something would be a really cool thing they could do. And again, we don't, we're speculating on what they could do, what they may do, but that idea of a lineup of history of search and rescue helicopters, get the family right at the top end, the modern day, the search and rescue of the UK, getting their Sikorsky S-92s or their Augusta Westland helicopters, that would be, again, from a public point of view, you'd probably not notice it as much, but that education is looking from where we were to where we have been in that short period of time. So yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
Historic helicopters, it would be nice probably over the next few years where we could actually see historic helicopters bring a Wessex, a Whirlwind and a Sea King, because they've got one that they're currently working on.
They do. I was surprised when they did announce the Wessex and the Whirlwind that they didn't announce the Sea King, but it also makes me hope that other operators... Is there a Belgian one? Am I remembering that correctly?
I think there is,
yes.
Yeah.
So... something like that. Maybe that one's coming over. So they're giving up space for other aircraft, other operators, and again, maybe in the future, update down the line when historic helicopters are maybe don't know whether or not the Sea King will be operational by then, or it's going to be a maintenance then, or something like that. So there's always caveats to the thing, but hopefully we can get that sort of that variety in terms of old aircraft to the new. And I think, speaking of old aircraft, we can move over to Cosford Airshow, which has had a variety of old aircraft plus a little sprinkling of new. That's the best segue you're going to get out of me today. So we've had, in the last 3 weeks, some pretty good, pretty, diverse, I think is the word to go for, airshow participants announced for Cosford. Does anyone want to run through anything that's, any one of the three that's maybe they're looking at as one of their standout items for it?
I would say, Thunderbolt and Mustang. You can't go wrong with either of those aircraft at an airshow.
Yeah, absolutely. Any airshow, you need some good old warbirds, some piston action. And yeah, having those two fly about the airfield will absolutely be very cool. And
I mean, you've got two workhorses of their eras, and I obviously you got, for the UK, you got the Merlin engine for the Spitfire, which is very, very noticeable, and you could pick it out with your eyes closed. But when you've got the Mustang screaming past you with the air running into the gun port,
oh yeah,
it's one of those sounds that I get sort of goosebumps on the back of on my arms, and the hair, what hair I got left stands up on the back of my neck. It's a proper old school sound.
I think there'll be a catch, or nice for you to see it if you end up attending Cosford, Matt, because obviously they're close to home for you.
They are indeed. I mean, the P-47 has spent about a week or so now at Sywell, and obviously Jersey Jerk lives at Sywell. So there's two aircraft that I get to see fairly quite often, but it's always nice to sort of see them flying together. There's a lot of history behind the aircraft as well. With the P-47 Nelly B being, I'm pretty sure it's the only sole airworthy P-47 in Europe, and it's long been touted as the heaviest and fastest American fighter in World War II. It's an absolute beast of an aircraft, and the Mustang was just absolute pure elegance in American fighter form, isn't it, really? So to see those two flying together, I think, will be something really quite impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, another impressive item that will probably be very elegant as well is the Vampire has been announced, and it's not the Norwegian one.
Where's this one based? I've got it in my back of my mind somewhere, but I want to say
I can't think of where it's based, but I know that last year it was meant to make a few airshow appearances. One notably was meant to be at Midlands, and I think it had engine issues pretty
currently based
late on
Cotswold Airport, so down at Kemble.
Okay, so yeah, it is Whiskey Zulu 507, which there's a fact I can't remember about it. Isn't it one of the only original engined one? I can't think. Someone's gonna have to take over from me here while I Google it.
I think so. I've found a new newfound respect for it. So there was a really good little documentary that Guy Martin did on the Vampire, where he had to fly in a Jet Provost to start with before he was allowed to get his hand literally on a Vampire. And I think it was down in Switzerland.
I think so, yeah.
It was such a great documentary on history, because I never realised how important it was to this, sort of the jet age.
It's definitely it's a stunning aircraft to look at. Also, it's got that beautiful twin boom tail as well. So, and again, obviously, there's obviously been issues around displaying of historic jets in the UK, but it's nice to see them coming back.
Is that because they tear up the runway when they take off?
Hey, don't you're gonna start pulling some nerves and poking the wrong hornet's nest.
No, I think
We fixed that now anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah,
just making light of it. I mean, when we do get the Norwegian vampires, and they're definitely an aircraft. Again, like we've said so many times before, especially like the F-86, where we just don't know how long we're going to have left with them. So enjoy them while we've got them.
yeah, absolutely. I can't find anything on it, and I can't remember what the fact was, but I remember there being a fact, and if I find it or remember it, I'm sure to blurt it out randomly in the middle of this episode at some point.
I reckon it'll be 5 minutes after we finish.
Probably as well.
Wake up screaming.
And then finally we have, I'm going to butcher the name, Melanie Estelle's in the Extra 330, which, again, Matt, you saw at Cyber last year?
Yes, I've been lucky to see Melanie's displays in her I think twice last year. Three times technically. Twice at Cyber on both days, and then also when she came back to the UK in July last year to take part in the British Aerobatic Championships at Cyber.
Oh gosh, yeah, that was at Cyber as well, wasn't it, last year?
So it's assuming it's going to be very similar. It is an absolute brilliant, unlimited aerobatic display. I would definitely say it's one of those things not to go and look too much at if you want a bit of a surprise, just because some of the manoeuvres that she performs you don't necessarily think are even vaguely humanly possible to do, let alone the speed and the accuracy that she flies the display with. So yeah, it's an incredible display, and I think it will suit Cosford fairly quite nicely with the sort of quite compact flight line as well, where it really excels those short, sharp, unlimited aerobatics.
I think did she win the Aerobatics Championship last year? Am I correct by that as well?
If she didn't come first, I think she definitely came either second or third. I know she's a 5-time champion in France and Europe and around Europe, so she's a very, very, very capable aerobatic pilot.
So I'm about to say some very cool aerobatics to be expected then at Cosford this year with that aircraft. I think it's the aircraft that they're bringing as well. Didn't the French team use it last year? Did they not loan the aircraft?
I'm not too sure.
Quick Voltage, is it?
Potentially, yeah, because
I think they used that same aircraft last year. Yeah, I don't know. It might be the same colour scheme, but I'm pretty sure they used the same extra last year. Who knows? Just like a little bit of fact. But yeah, I think going from last year, I think we'll carry on the Cosford theme, but in terms of the actual air show and what they're pulling out the bag so far, if we compare Cosford from now to last year, it's in a lot better stance in terms of other air shows compared to last year. We had last year Sywell, Midlands, or Buckingham, Shuttleworth, and I mean Shuttleworth have been pulling out some good stuff this year already, but Cosford have really got on it this year and gone right from the start this year. Let's get some announcements out there, some pretty significant pulls in terms of Vampire, and let's get ourselves on that airshow market so that people are having to debate whether or not, especially those families that are the one-time goers, whether or not they go to Midlands, whether or not they go to Cosford, because they probably are only going to go to one. And they have got themselves to the scene this year. And as much as we gave them criticism last year, I'm more than happy to hold my hands up this year and say props to what they're doing so far. I know some people find that the emoji thing a bit cringe, but I actually quite, like on a Friday, checking the social media, seeing what the emojis are. Oh, and what it's going to be this time.
I think.
So, yeah, I think props to them.
I really enjoy the emojis as well. It sort of breaks up the Friday afternoon a little bit. It makes me sort of think about what wild and wacky things it could be, and then what it's maybe more likely to be. But it keeps you guessing, and sort of adds an extra little bit of suspense, not just giving it away instantly. You've got to try and guess it, and then you got to wait to see if it's right or not.
Absolutely.
I think just with Cosford, obviously they were definitely late to the party last year, and I think this time they've got their invites out nice and early, and the guys are doing what they can, and I think I'm just going to touch on sort of RIAT when they announced the QA last year. When you get like a really good headlining act that's going to turn up, that's when you tend to sell all your tickets as well.
Yeah. I think they had RIAT a few of those last year, didn't they, with like U2 on the Friday and stuff like that.
But for the smaller shows like Cosford, I'm not saying Cosford's small, but if you get something that's like a C-47 that's going to turn up, that's not going to go anywhere else, that's going to be your market.
Yeah, absolutely. We can move on to now the lots and lots of announcements from other air shows. Not anything I would say massively outstanding, but we have got some announcements from multiple different air shows. We found out that Richard Goodwin's going to be taking his jet pits both to Duxford Summer Air Festival and to Shuttleworth Summer Air Festival as well. By the way, can we just take a moment to step back and say, Shuttleworth, what have you been eating in the morning? You've had your Weetabix. They're getting some really good display items this year. They're properly diversifying that summer air show.
I think that summer air show is going to be one to watch. I think it's taking place only a week after RIAT as well, and I think it could. Yes, it won't have the raw power and loudness and outright speed that RIAT will always have that trump card. But I think it could really be an air show to watch. Not just hopefully with fingers crossed, touch wood, all the rest of it, nice weather because it's the end of July, but also collection aircraft that are looking really good so far this year and are getting to be a fairly healthy visiting lineup as well.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to have a look at something for Rich Goodwin, because he had his Weetabix earlier than I've ever seen anyone have them, because he announced that he was doing Midlands Air Show like in September of last year or something crazy.
It was pretty. I don't know. Do you call it late or early? Late for 2024, but early for 2025. Yeah, no, I think he's going to a lot of the different air shows, but that jet pits is definitely worth the scene. And I swear, I want to see that jet pits because I have not seen it yet. He seems to always have missed me when I've gone to air shows. So if I end up missing him with the amount of air shows he's going to this year, I've got some sort of curse. I swear. So
I think with what's nice about Rich Goodwin is if he gets to an air show early enough, because he does. I like that he overflies the site and does a massive big smiley face in the sky.
Yeah, that's really good. Didn't he do it at Seaside Air Show a couple of years ago? Was it last year or the year before?
He did it at Timoth Air Show a couple of years ago.
I remember that. Yeah, that was quite cool. What else have we had? We've had speaking of Shuttleworth again, we keep going back. And they announced the Firebirds, which are a pyrotechnic display team, will be going and doing an evening flight as part of the Flying Proms in August. Again, another different air show, but Shuttleworth have... Come on, stop doing this now, Shuttleworth. You can't keep pulling out things. I feel like this was like what we did last year with Sywell, and every time they pulled out something good, we're like, you can't keep doing this. And then something more came out. What else have we had? We've had Sally B17 at Midlands Air Festival. Again, probably quite a stalwart of Midlands Air Festival, looking to be brilliant display as usual in that nice little bowl. Anyone else got anything else that they've seen? I'm just scrolling through all the different updates and stuff.
I can't say anything off the bat, but if you don't mind, we go back just for 2 seconds back to RIAT with the Electra. I think one thing we sort of neglected to sort of mention in the last episode was just the history that the aircraft has and why
absolutely go ahead.
And why it sort of fits that eyes in the skies theme. It's I think it's widely reported as being one of the most historic photo reconnaissance aircraft of all time.
Yeah,
mainly due to the fact that they were flying it in civilian hands over the German defences, factories, anything they could find way before. Well, not way before, just before the outbreak of World War II. And it sort of really allowed the Allied forces to have such a broad understanding of what the Germans were sort of planning without any military aircraft ever visiting the region. So, yeah, again, another one I'm lucky to see fairly often when it flies in and out of Sywell. But yeah, I think we sort of forgot to mention that last time.
Yeah, no, definitely talk about that sheer history of that aircraft. It's probably if you sat down and talked to aviation enthusiasts and goes, right, we're having this theme. What aircraft do you want? If it's non-military operated now, what is an aircraft that specifically fits the theme? And I think on 9 out of 10 people's top 5, that's got to be one that you chuck down straight away.
Definitely.
I just found a cool little article from Flightline UK that apparently the Abingdon, oh my god, I can't speak, organisers are hopeful that they're going to get elements of the RAF's fly pass for the King's birthday to hopefully fly past the show because it's on the same day. Which
yes, because they
would
had
be cool.
issues, didn't they, last year? I think with access to the site potentially around, and then I think with some new rules and stuff around use of MOD land, they've had to sort of have a fairly major shake-up of the air displays. So if they can get some elements of the fly pass coming over, that'd be a really nice catch for them, and something that will be literally unique to air shows around the UK.
Yeah, I think the only time that you can look back at anything like that was when RIAT had a fly past in 2018 for the RAF 100. That was basically the only thing I can think of anything similar. But yeah, the organisers have said we're hoping that some of the elements of the King's birthday fly past, which is held on the same day, will be able to fly overhead Abingdon shortly after Buckingham Palace. We liaison in with the RAF and we can update close to the time. Which, again, it's getting those unique pulls for our shows, getting the people in. But yeah, I think that's it for British airshow news. Are we going to slightly go away, get some suntan out, get some sun cream? Unless, Jack, you were about to pause me and stop me from going on holiday to Spain.
No, I was going to deviate slightly just to continental USA.
Okay.
Just to quickly touch upon, so the F-35 demo have obviously recently re-released their.
They have.
I can't think what the schedule. That's the one. I had every single word, and that was not the word that was going through my head. So they've announced that they're going to be coming to France to do the Paris Air Show. So yep. I would assume that they'll be taking a Lakenheath jet or two down to France to do the demo there. Yeah. But it's now pretty much confirmed as well that we won't be getting them here in the UK this year because Klamath Falls have pretty much been guaranteed the demo, the RIAT weekend.
Insert booze here. Annoy all the Facebook comments here. Look, when we can sit here and we can complain, and we'd sound like, what's the word? We sound self-entitled, I think. The US should prioritise US air shows, just like the RAF should prioritise British air shows. So, you don't get the Americans complaining that the Red Arrows aren't going over to America every year, do you? I think it's fair enough to them. Go and prioritise your air shows. When you've got a free gap 1 year, bring it to RIAT. Yes, fine that they're on our doorstep, but, why don't, European operators, we had an F-35 demo this year, other operators are starting to get significant numbers, the Danish are going to retire their 16 this year, the Belgians are going to start getting their F-35 soon, the Dutch already have theirs, whether or not they work up a demo. So yeah, I don't know, I think people, you'll upset people on Facebook and the people that go to see just the American stuff, which...
But then, one thing I'd like to bring up is obviously we're very lucky that the US lend, the public and the RAF Fairford for,
absolutely, yeah,
for a week where, a lot of the time they've got Bomber Task Force happening right around it, so we're so lucky that they allow us to use their space. But I also look at last year and I looked online and I couldn't find anything, and I don't know if you guys have done the same, but where else had a U2 demo? We are so lucky over here having the U2 that not only did we get a small U2 demo, but we also were really lucky to get the combat version also come in while we were all on the ground.
Yeah, I think I can't think anywhere else other than maybe somewhere in the US, but again, I don't imagine that they have them at what's the big one that happens at RIAT weekend?
Oshkosh.
Oshkosh. I haven't seen a U2 at Oshkosh. recently. Can anyone correct me on that? I don't know. I don't particularly look at Oshkosh in terms of. I don't stare and watch the thousands and millions of arrivals. But yeah, no, you are right. I think we are very privileged to have unique. I think that's the word. Demonstrations. Even when we've had the Osprey, even though he's done 3 flypasts, that's. When do you see that as a commonality at a US air show? So I think we are lucky, and as much as a lot of the participants are on static, I think that gives you the chance to talk to the crews. What do they do? Why are they here? What their aircraft are? That's what makes RIAT. You have that.
Fairford is also steeped in secrecy.
Yes.
Because of Bomber Task Force. The 99th Reconnaissance Squadron, but it is. We're lucky because it's almost like they trust us enough to know that. We can't do anything. I know they wouldn't give us access to the areas that we shouldn't be in anyway. But we're so lucky that on the south side where we all are, there's nothing overly sensitive or secretive. It's all on the north where they park everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, I'm going to take my trip over to Spain. Let's take a trip over to Spain. Grab your sun cream. Grab your sun hats. We're going over to... I can never butcher... Can anyone say the name better than I can?
Go on.
The Patrulla Aguila.
There you go. That's better than I
Patrulla Aguila.
Spanish GCSE coming in clutch there.
Wait, we did GCSEs?
Oh, God. Here we go. A cool...
Anyway.
I guess, is it cool? Is it interesting? I don't really know. I think it probably could end up being quite cool. The Spanish have recently announced this week in local newspapers that the team will be changing over from the Avio 101 jet to the PC-21 this year. And it comes as soon as the 40th anniversary air show for the team. As soon as that air show has passed, they are spending July and August working up on the PC-21. Now they're going to work up starting as a 5-ship and then increasing slowly by then to become back to a 7. Am I wrong other than saying by Mustang X-Ray this is the first PC-21 demo team?
I think it must be, yeah, because the Swiss use PC-7s.
Yeah, they do.
So I think it's a bit of a shame. I mean, the C-101s, the Aviojets, have been a sort of a mainstay of the Patrulla Aguila, since they formed 40 years ago. And I think it's sort of akin to the Red Arrows switching from the Hawks to a Texan. It's always going to sort of take away some of that, I'll say excitement, because some of the propeller aircraft displays can be exciting. But I think for me, an aerobatic display is always good when you've got a bit of jet noise to amplify the excitement and to sort of add an extra bit of added speed.
Well,
but then again,
not with the Aviojet. I guess it's a bit of a whine, isn't it? But
so I've just done a little bit of research. So the Swiss Air Force have a solo display for the PC-21.
Makes sense.
The French Air Force have a consists of 2 PC-21s.
So the Mustang X-Ray, yeah.
And then, so the only one that has any real significance, but is in the southern hemisphere, is the Royal Australian Air Force.
Oh, I forgot they do.
They use 6, and then they have a 7th for their public team relations officer.
I forgot they use them. Yeah, that's a shout.
The only other users of the PC-21 are the Royal Saudi Air Force, but don't consist of a demo, and the Spanish Air Force, which will obviously change over the next 10 months.
I mean, realistically, is the PC-1 a power upgrade? Does it actually end up giving them more horsepower and speed in terms of... Because that Aviojet it's slow, isn't it?
I think it's fairly future-proofing, though. The Aviojet, in the similar sort of vein to the Hawk T1, is on its way out. There are limited parts and spares that are available for it, and future-proofing your national display team is never a bad thing, and they're always good fun to watch as well.
I mean, to be fair, I've never seen a other operator of that aircraft. I've only ever known the Spanish, but I also wonder, I think to myself, are we going to have like the world's craziest commentator still going?
He better be.
I hope so.
Because
They
he
better
is
not get rid of
brilliant.
him. He is honestly one of the most brilliant commentators. He's up there with the Italians.
I'll start a petition otherwise.
He uses 3 words to describe one word.
Yeah, it is brilliant. But I think it's also a positive because it wasn't long ago that there was, rumours and churnings that they were just going to disband the team once the Aviojet came to its end of service life. So the fact that they have now said that, yeah, this is what's going to happen, we're going to change over, that now, like you said, Matt, future-proofs that team. That team's now probably going to be around. Surely you've got to think for another 10, 20, 30 years, easily, with the PC-21 being so new.
You're not prolonging the life, are you, by 5 years of a demo team? Like you say, you are literally, you're looking at 1 or 2 decades.
Which is nice.
And, obviously, looking at the RAF with the Red Arrows at the minute, being in a little bit of uncertainty, I think if they are able to future-proof themselves a little bit, for another 10 years, then that will be good for them. But I think the Spanish are doing it right. They're jumping out of that aircraft after their 40th anniversary celebration, which is amazing. But to also turn around the aircraft and, be competent, relative within only a matter of months will be true testament to the airmanship of those pilots.
Yeah, absolutely. And also that air show, if anyone has seen the announcements of that air show, what a lineup so far, especially display teams, just for anyone that's interested. We have the Patrouille de France, the Red Arrows, the Patrouille Julia, the Freccia Tricolori, and, if confirmed, and they get sign-off, the Turkish Stars. All in one air show. That's RIAT standard.
That's pretty mental.
That if we got those display teams at RIAT this year, you'd not say no, would you?
No.
So
Mass
I think
formation, what?
don't. We wanted that last year. We didn't get it with the Hawks.
We did though. Kind of. We just
we
got
didn't
one
get
of each.
We didn't get every, the Red Arrows
Big
and then the
42.
Saudi Hawks and then all of the. It could have been a lot more, but hey, no, I get it. I understand the formation fly past, solidarity, unity, etc. No, it makes sense. And
so I've just had a thought, and I don't know if someone could quickly Google it for me. You know how, like, the Swiss, they fly the PC-7 or PC-9?
Yeah, PC-7.
So they are all able to fly the PC-7 and the F-18, aren't they? Because they're mostly compatible to both aircraft?
I believe so.
Would that happen with the Spanish, i.e. with the current jet they're flying, would they also be current on the PC-21, which would make the transition slightly smoother?
I do not know. That is one to absolutely have a Google for. I have no idea whether or not that'll be publicly available information, because it's only recently that information's come out about the transfer over. But
I mean, I'm just trying to think of it logistically over 2 months. That's, it's a lot of time. It's not a lot of time to get a lot of people through something.
My thinking is that maybe they're already instructors on the PC-21s, so they'll just have to work up a display sequence as opposed to learning to fly it, maybe.
Yeah, that would make more sense. Yeah, that would absolutely make more sense. I guess we shall see. And maybe in 2026 they'll be over in the UK somewhere. Who knows? But on that, unless anyone else, I'll open up the room to anyone else. I don't think I have anything else on my list of things to speak about. Does anyone else?
I'd like to give our listeners a little something to do before the next podcast, if I may.
Go on.
So, at the Royal International Air Tattoo last year, we had the ISS go over the top. I would like our listeners to try and find the display that is going on over Fairford at the point that it flew over and took the picture.
On Google Maps?
On Google Maps.
Oh.
Or Google Earth.
Okay. There you go then.
There you go.
You've been set a challenge.
If you think you know what it is, please send us a message via socials and we will let you know if you are correct or not.
There you go. Okay. Unless anyone else has anything, we will close the floor and Jack's quiz show. Well, I think that silence says it all. Okay, then. Thank you for listening. We do appreciate you all listening and tuning in every single week. And we hope to get this onto a quite regular schedule, hopefully every couple of weeks. Slowly trickling along with all the airshow news that's coming out. And hopefully with a few reviews of airshows when we get into the close season and beyond. Let's see what this airshow season holds. I'm sure it'll be as exciting and have loads and loads of lovely weather and not be affected by the British weather. I've been Dan. Joining me has been Jack and Matt. Thank you for listening to the Echelon podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.